Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning trading room. Hang on a second here. We'll get the screen share going before I forget. Now, let me just warn you today, I'm a touch on the groggy side. I did not sleep a wink last night. So, I'll be awake, but maybe just barely so. All right. So the market yesterday was really quiet until the dying minutes when the bottom fell out of the market. You can see here going into the close about half an hour, which would be considered closing range, half hour, 45 minutes before the close. The market really started to tail off. The Asian and European sessions surprisingly light in the wake of that, and then here we are opening this morning with a little bit of a gap, but essentially taking over from where the market left off yesterday. So overall, I think we might be looking at a more bearish market. But we'll see. We'll see what gives. You're kind of looking at the daily. This is the NASDAQ, of course. For those of you new in the trading room, I'll review here in a moment what we're looking at. But just looking at a daily NASDAQ chart for a bit of a recap, this was the first serious reversal day. Yesterday was. And again, all that came in the dying minutes. You can see going in to this week, we had a very bullish day, or a bullish week, pardon me, with some very, very strong rally bars. But we are trading back now here off of this 7,400 area, and apparently the market doesn't like that much. Yesterday's volume surprisingly light for such a strong move. So I think today is going to kind of set the tone for what we're going to expect in the near future. Oh, thanks, Floyd. Floyd giving me the news updates. He says Powell's speaking today and tomorrow at 10 Eastern. So no doubt that is going to put a nix in the wrinkle, as my wife likes to say. Don't ask me what that means. I don't know. But it sounds kind of cool. All right, so here we are now with the market open. For those of you who like to follow your first in-sync eagle signal, that would be that bad boy right here. You can do, I pointed this out before, you can do the same thing on the Raptor. You can just look at your first signal of the day that is in sync. And you can look to take advantage of that. This is going to be a #1 signal. This is going to be our cloud crossover signal. So the cloud's going from bearish to bullish. There's been a little mini pullback there. There you go. There's the cloud crossover. All right, let's throw that on the shelf. As I mentioned, these charts here are the NASDAQ. This is the complete DTS system along with the Raptor. So we've got the Hawk Scalper, Falcon Swing Trader, Eagle Trend Trader, and of course the Raptor here in the bottom corner. You know what? I'm not a fan of early signals, as you know, but we're getting a fairly decent little second push opportunity off this one. And I'm thinking if I can cover it, I might give it a whirl. So ideally, I want to cover it down there. Trade manager says, nope, Eric, that's too far out of reach. All right, well, let's try for something maybe a little bit less ambitious or more ambitious. Higher risk. Tighter stop means higher risk. I can't cover it to the low of the morning, but again, with the second push opportunity, it means that I'm only going to be brought in if there's some new upside momentum here. And so far, there's not too much of that. In fact, we're printing a sell signal. Notice the red bars. Yeah, the Hawk's starting to slip lower. The Falcon changing the trend line. The overall trend is down, so that would be the safer position to take. I'm using air quotes when I say that, safer. All right, so it looks like they will try to bring us in here in a moment. Visually, this is very, very close to a hard edge bounce. And, I'm always tempted on these early signals to try to let it run out a little bit further. Where's my next resistance line? So primary resistance way up here, 73.41 half. That would be a pretty good move, I think. On these early signals, very often what I'm looking for is some early market momentum. And we'll see here in a moment if there is any of that. Kind of stuck here a little bit below the median line from our support and resistance suite. All right, well, we're drifting higher. There we go. Got a little bit of a kick. Okay, now obviously we're about halfway toward the next profit target, so you can see we're just hovering here below the break even. I can manually take the trade to break even at this point. And I should probably also use a more aggressive stop. In fact, you know what? We're making good time here. I may really make this trade work for it. I'll get the parabolics to hold right there. Because yesterday the tumble started at around here, the 73.60 mark. That's where prices started to fall off from, or actually even a little bit higher up here, 73.79 3/4, essentially 73.980. And now that we're above the median line, it is not unrealistic to expect a two-zone move. So this would be zone number 1, and this would be zone number 2. Sneak it up a couple of ticks. Okay, not a bad little move to start the morning. And again, our first in-sync Raptor signal, first in-sync Eagle signal, both paying off, hitting their high probability profit objectives. The Eagle actually printing a little bit faster here this morning, but the second signal coincided with the Raptor signal, both of which, as you can see, getting to their high probability profit objectives. Could be a little bit of a pushback here. The market still slow, but at least it's moving a little bit better than what it was yesterday. Yesterday was downright painful. Excuse me. And it looks like we're going to get a follow-up signal here now with the hawk. We've got ourselves a 4-arrow consolidation. Kind of piggybacking on a macro pullback. The problem with this trade, not that it won't find its high probability profit objective. I think we're almost there. Rather, it's covering the position. But again, because of the hawk scalper, it's looking for shorter moves. It's usually relatively easy. I'm using air quotes when I say easy to get to your profit target as well. All right, a little bit more of a pullback. So here off of that 4-arrow consolidation / macro pullback signal, we did hit the profit target, but not a whole lot more. The market dragging its feet a little bit. right, a slow trickle higher. Oh, actually here the Falcon, I was looking the other way at the other charts, the Falcon goes and produces a late filter entry signal off of a relatively flat trend line. Same issue as I'm having with the other markets, not so much the viability of the signal. I think the direction is fairly clear. The big question is, where do I cover the trade? And I don't usually want to cover it right here. That's perhaps a little bit too tight. Two swings back, which is my norm. There's swing one, there's swing two. Puts me a little bit out of reach. Let's see, have they found the profit objective yet? No, not quite. Would have hit the break-even trigger had I had one in play. And it looks like I might have been tagged at break-even on that order. This slow upward grind is kind of characteristic of the summer session. Okay, almost here now to the primary resistance zone. And you can see we're getting a little bit of a reaction. So I got stopped out about, well, yeah, it looks like about halfway to the target on that little bit of a hiccup. Let's see, would the ATR have held me in a little better? Oh, it would have too. Parabolic's a touch too aggressive for today's meandering market. Okay, well, that little push through was a little bit stronger than I would have anticipated. Way to go, Ray. Ray says, good morning, Eric. I started with the Raptor and got my first target profit, and then started with the Hawk, got my second profit target. My day is done. Nice job. Well, we're kind of waiting for the market to give us something else. And we're definitely in a bull market this morning, no question about that. I wonder if I could entice those of you in the room to give me a little bit of feedback. If you had to put your finger on, if you're struggling with something, with your DTS tools or with your Raptor, if there's something that's bugging you that you just can't quite get a handle on, I would appreciate the feedback. I really would. I'm not going to pick on you, I promise. You can either pop a comment into the chat window, or I will give you my email here. You can email me at, well, I got several emails, but Eric with an H, ERICH, at indicatorwarehouse.com is also a great place to send emails. Sure, Floyd. Floyd's asking, would you please explain your stop strategy one more time? And now I think what Floyd's referring to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is how do I select from all the different stop strategies that we have going on here? How do I select which one to use? Well, quite simply, it's whichever one seems to be fitting the market pretty well that day. So if I open up my charts and I'm looking and I see, okay, the ATR stop seems to be following the market pretty well, then I'll probably run with the ATR stop. As the market becomes more and more profitable, however, and I anticipate a little bit of a pullback, I tend to get a little bit more aggressive. But mind you, I'm a little bit of a chicken. So I'll either move into a parabolic, which you can see hugs the market a little bit closer, especially when things get slower, or the bar high low, where I can actually perhaps 2 and 2 is a fairly safe stop strategy, where I'm going to trail a stop 2 ticks back or 2 ticks off the last bar, 2 bars back. So it's kind of, if you have the nerve, you can just select your stop strategy, anything that seems to fit the market pretty well for the day, and run with that. Your ATR, your super trend, and your chandelier are all ATR based strategies. The super trend, what makes the super trend different than the ATR is it has an extra smoothing variable. And you can actually go into your trade manager. You need to turn it off, remember, before you make any changes. So here where it says enabled, you would actually disable it. Remember to click apply. And then you can go into your stop strategies and you can, where is it? I thought you had the chance to change it. No, maybe not. Maybe that was on the old profit manager. Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Dating myself here. The old profit manager allowed you to choose the moving average for your super trend. I do believe it uses an HMA most of the time. Not that it matters, they're all very close. But yeah, that's really the way I do it. So if we scroll back here to yesterday, where it was a little bit more of a mess, you can see that just given the market condition, none of the stop strategies are really going to be working well. So what I'll do is I'll take a look at a signal. So here was a trend change signal for the Falcon. And I'll look at the signal and I'll see how did the stop strategy perform. Did it hold me in long enough to reach my profit objective? So if that was the signal right there, and perhaps I set it up with the stop strategy, did it hold me in to find my profit target? Yes, it did. Oh, all right. Well, then maybe I'll stay with the super trend. Or if I thought it was too tight, maybe I'll dial it back a little bit. So it's not really structured. If it seems to fit the market for the day, then I'll go with it. I do like the ATR strategies like Super Trend, ATR, Chandelier. And then, of course, very often you'll see me default to the parabolic if I have a fair amount of open profit. All right, things getting a touch bearish here now. Yeah, okay. Mickey's asking, I've been gleaning the info from the YouTube videos. Is there a guide to the various signals, warning dots, dashes, etc.? Yes. If you're not already a subscriber to the Indicator Warehouse YouTube channel, you might want to check that out. The reason I say so is, and I will show you how to get there. So you go to your YouTube and you type in indicator warehouse, and you're going to get to the indicator warehouse page. You can subscribe to it. All that does is it gives you a shortcut to the daily updates, the recordings. But this one right here will be a good video for you to watch. This was a slow trading day. There wasn't much going on. So I actually went over the Raptor signals. The 47 minutes is the entire session. I think the first 15 minutes or so are spent going over the signals. So there's a good one to kind of keep in your back pocket. But just briefly, seeing how we're kind of in limbo here at the moment, when most of the signal parameters are met, or I think it's actually half, there's about a half a dozen algorithms working behind the scenes here that have to be met before a signal will print. When we're about halfway there, the Raptor and the other tools as well will print a warning dot along with an audio alert. And the sole purpose of that is just to draw your attention to the chart, as there may be an opportunity building. When all the signal parameters have been met, we're going to get a triangle and a hash mark. Now the hash mark is a suggested entry. Computers don't like gray zones. Therefore, we had to specify an entry point. The entry for all the tools will always be one tick above or below the signal bar. And then of course, we have the various signals. For the Raptor in particular, you've got your 1, your 2, and your 3. So your number 1 signal is your cloud crossover. It's when your clouds change direction. And the signal will be preceded by a pullback. There was just a teeny tiny pullback here. You could have actually interpreted this one as a number 1 signal as well, even though the trading parameters were met here. This is essentially the same thing, but a little bit more drawn out. The clouds cross, there's a pullback, there's your signal. Your number 2 signal, of course, is your counter trend signal. It must be preceded by a test of the extreme. In this case, the extreme is a low. The market tries to recover the downtrend. It cannot. And then the market comes back and produces a buy signal. Your number 2 signals will be most successful when there's an established trend and when your trading band becomes a little bit more overextended. So we have here, where are we sitting? 73.33 on the bottom end. And then here at the top end, we're sitting, it's a little bit difficult to see. We'll say 73.45. All right, so that's what, 45, that's 12 points. So 48 ticks. So anytime the market starts to get about 50, anytime the band starts to get about 50 ticks broad, it may be open to a reversal, and the target for the reversal would be the hard edge. So you can see we've produced a number 2 signal here. That's because we've retested the high and it's failed. And so if you were attempting this short, it would bring us back here. Our target would be the hard edge. Now, a word of warning, counter trend signals have their advantages and substantial disadvantages. The substantial disadvantage is that you are flying in the face of the trend. The advantages are you can usually structure the trade fairly tight. By that I mean you know where your stops need to go. Right? Your stops need to go above the highs, because if the market brings you in and reverses, goes back above the highs, well then chances are really good you're on the wrong side of the trade. So you can usually get by with a little tighter stop. The other advantage is once the counter trade engages, it's usually pretty fast. The counter trend moves tend to move relatively quickly because a lot of times they catch traders on the wrong side of the position. The downside, as I mentioned, is you're flying in the face of a trend, and it blocks you from taking with trend trades. So try to trade counter trend very selectively. When I go through my trading journal and I tally up my losing trades, they are almost always counter trend signals. Then you've got your number 3 signal. This is a continuation signal. It's going to develop on a pullback, so you need to have a trend or something resembling a trend to continue. These will always make you nervous, these number 3 signals. They never look that inviting, and I suppose that's why they work out. The number 3 signal will occur when the market encounters the hard edge, either the first or the second, and then recovers the trend, and there is your number 3 signal. Now, you should also be on the alert for visual number 3 signals. You can see this one right here, this bar, it came one tick short of hitting the hard edge, but it still came out and produced a buy signal. So visually, this would be a number 3 signal as well, right here. Even though as far as the programming goes, it didn't quite make it. Wow, the buyers still in full control of the market here this morning. Ray says looking at a 15-minute chart is nothing but bull. I think you don't mean that in a derogatory way. So let's take a look here at a 15-minute chart. It's not a bad idea to, have a different perspective on the day. There's nothing wrong with that. So here now a 15-minute chart, and yeah, Ray, you're absolutely right. Full on bull market here this morning. So if they get back here toward, looks like somewhere around the 73.70 area, that's more or less where the scales tipped and bottom fell out of the market. I wouldn't be surprised to see the day finish on a more bearish note. The struggle with a day like today is not, like I said, it's not so much picking the direction. We can almost blindly buy any buy signal. So here we come with we call these our discretionary signals. They don't really qualify as a high probability signal, but if you're looking at them and you say, well, wait a minute, I got myself a really strong uptrend here. I'm going to print another signal right there. Why don't I try to buy it up to the next resistance zone or the next profit target? So if you deem the trend to be strong enough and if you can afford the risk, then, go ahead, throw in the order. If you would rather wait for a high probability signal to develop, go grab yourself a cup of coffee and check back on the market and scrub your trade. One thing here on the time chart, where did I put it? There we go. So if we go back here and take a look at the 15-minute momentum, well, we'll see how this bar finishes here. Still has a few minutes to go, but momentum does seem to be fading a bit, doesn't it? This always reminds me of throwing a ball in the air. How it goes higher, 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 and then starts to crest and then starts going the other way. And here, of course, the big crest, throwing the ball in the air and goes the other way. So in light of that, here we have our band is even more extended than it was before, and market momentum does seem to be fading. You can see we're overlapping a little bit more, kind of trading over the same prices. We did hit 73.50, which will again be one of those psychological numbers. We've produced a number 2 signal. Visually, well, I don't know. You don't want to start reading things into a chart. Maybe we'll wait for a proper test of the extreme before I get too serious about trying to short. But there might be a selling opportunity coming by here. Yeah, well, no, the Hawk's still bullish. The Eagle, obviously, still bullish. The Falcon, entertaining some bearishness. All right, here we're getting our number 2 signal building. This is a little bit of a weak retest, and it may not even print as a number 2, but I'm going to get ready for it. No, I don't want 2 contracts. I just want a single contract. So the objective here is if the market breaks the lows, and well, I'm a little bit far away, but I won't adjust it just yet. So if the market continues lower, we have the warning dot, so we know part of the parameters have been met for a sell signal. And again, this is a counter trend trade. It's inherently more riskier than a with trend trade. Okay, it doesn't look like the signal's going to complete at this point, so I will scrub that. Or will it? Another warning dot. So I'm just getting ready here. I could also, I'm in manual mode, so it's going to default to this quantity. I could just get ready on the sell button also. Get my stops enabled. No, nope, not yet. In fact, here we go with yet another number 3 signal. Now, this is a visual number 3. As you can see, we did not intersect the hard edge of the trading band. Rather, visually, you can see you're within a tick or two. My concern is we're starting to retrace a lot of these familiar numbers. Look at how much time we're spending here at 73.50. We've been here since, well, about a quarter after. So the last 15 minutes, we've been running over these same numbers. If we get a decent second push, no, they're not going to give it to me. They're going to run. I was going to say, if it gives me a decent second push, I might take a look at entering on a buy, on this buy, but I think I waited too long. Shoot. So it looks like we are going to get here to the next resistance zone at 73.60. That's a big move. After that, 73.80. Might be a little bit overly ambitious. But a very sustained rally here this morning. All right, gang, I hate to close the room down early, but unfortunately I have an appointment I need to get to, and I got to hit the bricks. So I will see you again tomorrow. If you're going to continue trading this afternoon, I think I would remain cautiously bullish. I think the market, now that we're around this next resistance line, here around the 73.60 mark, I would not be surprised to see the market continue moving sideways. I think this leg here was definitely the move of the morning, and now we're kind of hit the sideways skid. That's very often what will happen. I don't think, given the strength of this morning's rally, the market will make a full reverse, but I would not be surprised to see prices drift lower, maybe even get back down here to the primary support zone around 73.41. So I'd be very, very cautious on the short side and cautiously optimistic on the buy side. All right, be careful. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.